So maybe we should start now with the introduction of ESM-Tools and understand what problem are we trying to solve. And something I wanted to let you know is that you can interrupt me at any time and ask questions. So yeah, please do it. Models, since a few decades now, they are getting more and more complicated, and not only models by themselves are getting more and more complicated, we are actually starting to combine more and more models with each other, and that means an extra level of complication. Each model is operated on a different way, built on a different way, and on top of that, at another extra level of complication, you might want to run the same model in different HPCs. So basically, that boils down to three problems. Compiling and configuring ESM models in different HPCs is quite complicated, or it could get quite complicated. And also to get, once they are compiled, to get to a running simulation, well, you have to read long manuals and maybe contact the developers because the manuals sometimes are out of date. And then you have to choose among different options. So it's not so straightforward to just get to a default running simulation. And then there is the question of how, okay, I run my experiment in this computer, how can I reproduce this experiment in another computer, or how can I share it with one of my colleagues because they want to run the same simulation but with a different parameter, for example. So, but there are solutions that we can offer to that. So, for example, once compilation is done for one single computer, and we have recorded all these steps, it's pretty easy for someone else to, if we share these steps, it's pretty easy to just run, to just compile this. And we can also, for running the simulations, we can say, okay, we are going to define a set of defaults, and we are going to give the user, if I am the model developer, I can set all these defaults for running a simulation and call it a name, call it, for example, okay, this is going to be my PI control simulation. And we can pre-industrial control simulation. I'm going to give this to my users, and then they can reproduce the exact same simulation. If you add to all this information, this is just information, these are just steps on how to do things. If you add to all this information, you put it on a repository and you add a layer functionality, that's basically what ESM-Tools is. So it is a modular infrastructure software that allows you to download, compile, and configure standalone Earth system models and also Earth ESM couple setups in different HPCs, more or less out of the box, and then run simulations with it. And it also organizes experiment folder and output restart in the same way for different type of models. It also has support for calendar operations and a small workflow manager. So it has, yeah, a set of different functionalities there. The main advantages of this, well, I mentioned them, is the problems that we are solving. So experiment reproducibility, easy to implement new models, relative, it's getting more and more easy. We are working on that, but definitely it's easier to once these models have been implemented and supported for a given computer, it's definitely easier to build and run these models. So they can be used, for example, for educational purposes, but because it is modular, it's also pretty good for research, and because it's high flexible, it's also pretty good for research. So yeah, these are the models that we are supporting, but I think this is enough of advertisement. I think you all know this very well here at AVI. You probably know the old workflow, and we've touched already into that a little bit, but basically the old workflow on how to run a model into a HPC would be basically first to configure and compile it, and then get a bunch of errors, and then prepare the experiment folders and prepare your bash script, and again a lot of errors, and eventually you run your simulation.
Who here has not done this anymore? Like, I think there's people here now that have never like gone and configured and made and did everything in batch, right?
I haven't.
That's the goal, right? That you never learn this anymore, because it used to be a big source of wasted time that basically we were running the model with different environment and we were compiling and
But there are still people here who still work with a bash, like not using ESM tools.
there will be for quite some time still, but at least if you start now, it should not be that way anymore.
Just an example, I have a friend who took like 1 year to do the batch type of the thing, and now basically we have like interns, and within a day she was able to, and she was a bachelor student by not even a PhD. She was able to with ESM tools install a model and just submit the job and get the results. That's amazing compared to 1 year to 1 day. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mentioned the old workflow, the new workflow. Some of you are already familiarized, in which you have basically a command from ESM-Tools that is called ESM Master to actually build, download, configure, and build the model. And then you have another command for running the model with your experiment, and you use for that to interact with ESM-Tools, you use basically the run script to change the defaults of that model. So much more simple. And I've been talking already about the run scripts. We are gonna be talking a lot. You are gonna get tired of run scripts, but basically, here what we are seeing on the right is a YAML file, which is our run script. So YAML is a format, and it looks like this. It's a way of storing data. And you can see that it looks pretty nice, that it's pretty intuitive to understand what you are seeing here, right? So you are seeing here, for example, a variable that is called setup name that belongs to a general section here. So that's how the data looks like in the configuration files, but also how it looks on the run script, which is your user interface. In contrast with a bash script for running, I mean, this is probably not a very fair comparison, but it's still quite complicated and not so easy to read.
And it's only a section of the script, so I mean the whole thing is like huge. But the YAML file is really self-contained. It's super simple.
Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned a lot of this stuff, but I want to make a little bit more emphasis on a couple of things. So mostly probably on, again, that is modular and extendable, and it has not only it's not only modular in the way we configure the different models, but we also have user plugins, so you can develop your Python plugin and basically plug it to the recipe of ESM-Tools. But also something very important, lately, I found that these have made big progresses on ESM-Tools development, is that we are adopting CI, which is continuous integration workflow. So basically our philosophy nowadays is that if we make a feature, we want it to be in the main branch of ESM. We want it to be available for everyone as soon as possible. So we implement it very fast, and we don't wait long time until a bunch of features are ready to be merged into the main thing. So one could say, well, this is a little bit unstable, and that's why the second part of it is super important, and part of CI is automatic testing. We have automatic testing to make sure that all the information that we are adding there is not changing anything for the experiments. So we can develop very fast to solve or couple with your needs, but at the same time we are remaining stable because thanks to automatic testing. Yeah, so ESM-Tools, in the end, just to summarize all this section, is a place to store, administrate, and distribute the default configurations of the different models that are supported there, and also the HPCs. And on top of that, we have a functionality layer and quite some structure to it to make it modular. So I'd like to show a little bit on basically how to contact us or how to see what's going on with us. So most importantly is GitHub. We are trying, we had a lot of platforms going around, but now we are trying emails and stuff, but now we are trying to put everything on GitHub. So we have our workflow or project management on GitHub. We have, of course, our repository on GitHub. And most importantly for you is that we have here the discussions, which is basically a forum in which you can ask questions not only related to ESM-Tools, but if you want to ask questions to the users about the models, you can ask questions there about the models. And also, if you have a problem and you kind of know that this is not a bug, you can ask a question there. We are supporting bugs, reported bugs. We are supporting problems related to ESM-Tools reported there, and we are looking at that actively. But we are not supporting problems with the models themselves there. So if you have a question about the model, how can I generate my forcing files, for example, you can go there. There is a section that is called models. You can open an issue, and we are not going to support it. If we know how to answer and we have time, we will definitely answer. But it's more like a community place where we hope to offer you the option to help each other. Also, because if you have a basic question about the ESM-Tools and it's not in the documents, because our documents are definitely far away from perfect, you can go there and ask, and we will answer there. And then everyone can find this question answered there. So it's very convenient. Yeah.
Is there a way to subscribe to this forum so that, for example, when there's a new discussion that started, I get an email?
On GitHub, you can watch the ESM-Tools project and you can start it. Then you will get the notifications. Yes.
Nice.
But then I get a notification about everything, right?
I think you can choose it. Maybe if you later on share your screen, your browser, we can go through that. So
it's custom. Okay, I'll have a look. Thanks.
There is the watch and start. So if you just click the triangle in watch.
Which triangle?
So it says watch and exactly.
Nice.
Custom and then discussions. I found it. Good.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Good. And the other thing, the other link that I wanted to share with you, very important, if you suspect it's an issue and there is a bug, you can just directly go into our GitHub page inside issues and report a bug, and we will take care of it. You can also look at our documentation. The most important chapter probably is still, it holds still pretty well. Let me just click here. And that one is YAML file syntax. And that's basically this course. It's a very, very long chapter. And but you can use this course, you can use in combination with this. And then we have a very out-of-dated ESM-Tools website. In some point, we will find time to actually work on a new website. And we have also a very outdated ESM-Tools Twitter. And YouTube will be updated with these presentations. And then if you want to cite us, you can just use this paper here. Okay, so we talked already about this and we show already the discussion side. So that's for the first presentation. So do we have any questions